Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Namaste, all of you. I hope you had a wonderful Krishna Jayanthi celebrations. Let us invoke Lord Krishna's blessings on all of us, and may He guide us through our spiritual journey. Let us now continue reading, which is from Poojya Swamiji's Bhagavad Geetha Home Study, Volume 1. So, Swamiji was talking about the four Purusharthas. He talked about Artha, Kama, and Dharma. We are now going to enter the fourth and Parama Purushartha, Moksha Purushartha. So, what does Swamiji have to say over here? Even though moksha comes last, it is a very important purushartha, as we shall see. Moksha is recognized as a pursuit only by few people in any given generation. Some appreciation, maturity, or insight about life and its struggles is required to understand moksha. People do not discerningly pursue it, although everyone is, in fact, always seeking freedom in one form or other. Though you think of freedom in a very positive way, the word moksha is actually defined in a negative sense. There is something binding you from which you want to become free, and that freedom is moksha. For instance, a man who is not in jail has freedom, whereas if he is in jail, he does not. Because he cannot choose to come out, he has lost his freedom of mobility and wants to gain it. He wants freedom from the shackles of jail. If you are using crutches because of a leg fracture, you want freedom from the crutches. Similarly, an infant requiring the help of the wall or mother's hand in order to stand wants to be free of the wall, on the other hand, and therefore strives to stand on his or her own. So, freedom is always freedom from something. Moksha means freedom from something I do not want. And because moksha is a purushartha, a human end common to all, wanting to be free is not particular to me alone. Everyone wants to be free from things that are common to all. That I am attached to particular forms of security, artha, reveals a fact about myself, that I am insecure. That I also seek pleasure, kama, reveals I am restless and I am not satisfied with myself. I have to do something in order to please myself, which means that I am displeased with myself. If I am always seeking security and pleasure, when will I make my life? When will I really be able to say, I have made it? I can say that only when I see myself as secure and I am pleased with myself. Then I am free. I have moksha. Moksha does not mean salvation. In fact, there is no word in Sanskrit for salvation, which is just as well, since salvation implies some condemnation of myself. It implies that someone has to salvage me. save me, which is not what is meant by moksha at all. The word moksha refers only to the freeing of myself from certain fetters. The basic ones are the notions that I am insecure and I am displeased with myself. I must see myself as secure and be pleased with myself as I am. Only then do I have moksha. If I am insecure and pleased with myself, sorry, if I am secure and pleased with myself, what situation is going to change that? I require no security or a situational change whatsoever to be secure and at peace. This should be understood well. I spend my entire life manipulating the world to please myself. In the process, I find that two hands and legs, five senses, and a mind are not enough to contend with all the factors involved. There are just too many events and situations, as well as natural forces, over which I seem to have no control. Just a minute. Moksha is freedom from seeking. With my limited powers and limited knowledge, I find that I can never measure up to the demands of gaining the securities and pleasures that I seek, which is why which is why life seems to be a problem. Only when I reach 39 or 40, when I undergo what is sometimes referred to as the midlife crisis, do I begin to understand this. Even though I may think my marriage or my job is my crisis, actually, I am the crisis. My crisis has nothing to do with marriage or any other situations in my life. The tendency, however, is to find a scapegoat for every problem I have, and the immediate scapegoat available is often my partner in life. When you look into your various pursuits, artha, kama, and dharma, you find that what you really seek is none of these. You seek only freedom from being a seeker. Everyone is a seeker pursuing artha and kama mainly, and to some extent dharma. But ultimately, everyone is seeking only moksha. Therefore, moksha alone is the real end. In other words, freedom from being insecure is what you seek when you seek security. When you seek securities, you are not really seeking securities themselves. You are seeking freedom from being insecure. This distinction should be clearly understood. The shift in emphasis that this distinction represents is what we call learning. Seeking security is very natural. For an uninformed person who does not think about or understand his or her own ideas and urges, security is a particular thing and is always taken to be outside of oneself. That I am insecure is a totally accepted conclusion for such a person, a conclusion that is never doubted or questioned. Various philosophies have arisen from this insecurity. For instance, one person says, money will not give you security, while another person says it will, but only here on earth, not later. Later security, we are told, can only be gained by doing certain prescribed acts. Thus, we have varieties of religions and philosophies, all of which have been born out of accepting I am insecure, and security is something that is outside of oneself. Even as a child, one's security depends on the constant availability of protection, love, and care of one's parents. On the other hand, once the child has grown up, the situation is reversed. Now, the parent's security depends on the attention of the child. Parents often feel neglected by their grown up children who are now occupied with their own lives. Once a child has grown up, security is no more in the parents, it lies elsewhere. As a child, I was insecure, and now also I am insecure. There is a constant shift in what I take to be securities, which is considered to be a normal life for everyone. No one, however, deserves to have this problem. Security is not the problem. That I lack something is not the problem. The problem is I lack. This difference must be seen clearly. What I lack is always variable. I lack iced tea. I lack children. I lack a house. What I lack is always peculiar to me at a given point in time and place in my life. It differs from individual to individual, from culture to culture. However, the lack is common to all and is entirely different from what I lack. I may lack a healthy body, a taller body, a thinner body, a turned up nose, longer eyelashes, or a different skin color. And this may only be the beginning of an endless list. But the fact that I conclude I lack is universal. For instance, what can you do if your height is less than what you would like it to be? The most you can do is to wear high heeled shoes, which does not really make you any taller. In fact, in the eyes of others, you may be shorter. It is only when you are being recruited for a basketball team that anyone else thinks about your height. Height is your complex. I do not think about your height until you get into high heeled shoes and try to walk. Only then do I see your height because you have drawn my attention to it, and I immediately cut it down by a few inches. I may actually reduce it more than the actual height of your heels. You not only fall short of my expectation, but you also become shorter than what you really are. So, if you have a complex with regard to your height, you are stuck. If you were a wire or something stretchable, your height could be increased, but no such stretching is possible. Similarly, there are a lot of things that you are stuck with because the things you are not, known and unknown, are countless. And what you lack, you can never totally fulfill. The more you go after what you lack, the more you breed what you lack because what you lack has a knack of multiplying itself. It is like going to the supermarket to pick up a few things you lack and coming home with a few more desires to be fulfilled when you get your paycheck the following week. This is why we say desire is like fire that leaves a black trail after it. No matter how much you feed it, fire never says enough. Similarly, human beings can never say enough to securities and pleasures. We will pick up the thread in the next capsule. Hari Om.